The sun is shining on the streets of downtown Cleveland. Two gunfighters will take the hill at Progressive Field. On one side, 2010 AL Cy Young Award winner Felix Hernandez. On the other, Indians ace Justin Masterson, looking to tie the league lead with 7 wins. It's King Felix versus Bat Masterson. It's an Old West shootout, and it's next on Sports Time Ohio. On a perfect day for baseball in downtown Cleveland, Ohio, the Cleveland Indians look to make it 3 straight wins against the Seattle Mariners. Hi again, everyone. Matt Underwood alongside Rick Manning. According to the Elias Sports Bureau, the Cleveland Indians are the first team in baseball history to beat 6 Cy Young Award winners before the calendar turns to the month of June. Now they've got a chance to make it 7. But the task gets a little bit tougher with King Felix on the mound.
It certainly does, but they'll have a couple of Picassos on the mound here today because you've got Justin Masterson coming off a beautiful game against the Yankees, a 1-0 win, his second one this year. He's been very good. He's had a lot of success against the Seattle Mariners, and if you're going to match up against Felix Hernandez, you've got to have your good stuff. 3-0 in his career against the Mariners. Felix Hernandez, 6-4, but this guy leads the league in ERA. He will throw any pitch at any time. He's got a great changeup. He doesn't throw as hard as he once did, but his breaking stuff is just phenomenal. And this guy, you can't give him a break because he doesn't give you any extra runners. One of the top pitchers in the game, and they're going to go see if they can beat the former Cy Young Award winner.
A lot of times with Hernandez, it comes down to run support. Seattle sometimes doesn't score when he's on the mound. That could be a huge key for the Tribe here today. What a matchup we've got. Justin Masterson leads the American League in shutouts. Felix Hernandez leads the league in earned run average. Who will prevail, the King of K's or Bat Masterson? Find out next. And we welcome you into Progressive Field for Game 3 of this 4-game series. The Indians have won 3 straight, 16 of their last 20. They sit alone atop the Central Division standings with a record of 24-17. Seattle 3 games below the break-even mark. They've dropped to third in the AL West, 8 games back of front-running Texas. Justin Masterson on the hill quickly. Here is Eric Wedge's starting lineup for Seattle. Michael Saunders, Dustin Ackley, and Kyle Seager. Kendry Morales, Michael Morrison, Raul Ibanez, who's clobbered 2 home runs in the series. Then Justin Smoke, Jesus Montero, and Brendan Ryan.
Justin Masterson on the mound for the Indians, 6-2. It'll be his 9th start, coming off a dandy against the Yankees, where he had a 1-0 shutout. Another complete game. That's his 2nd one this year. Going up against Seattle, where he is 3-0 lifetime in his career.
Masterson the line on the pitch, and Saunders takes a first pitch strike. .81 degrees, our game time temperature. The next offering, a little bit inside. Masterson looking for his 7th win that would move him into a tie for the league lead in that category. Saunders gets a piece, fouls it back, 1-2 the count. Michael Saunders got the day off yesterday for Seattle. He had started in 15 straight games before the break. Swung on and missed. Masterson strikes him out to start the game.
Let's take a look at the Kia Indians defense this afternoon. They are rated 9th in the league. They have made 22 errors. It's Brantley in left, Bourne in center, Stubbs is in right. Reynolds at third. Aviles gets the start at short this afternoon. He was in left yesterday. Kipnis is at second, Swisher at first, and Carlos Santana doing the catching.
Dustin Ackley batting in the 2-hole. Kyle Seager is on deck. Ackley 2 for 9 in the series. Chops one towards second base where Jason Kipnis fields it cleanly, throws him out, and we've got 2 down in the first. Take a look at our keys to the game for today. Masterson trying to set the tone. And Felix Hernandez, you want to try, if you can, to make him work, drive his pitch count up early. That's not easy to do.
Well, he's a guy you want to try and get a lead on, because he's awfully tough. Seems to go deep in every ball game. He's a stingy guy on the mound. Doesn't like to give up runs.
If you're going to get him, generally, you get him early.
We had a game out in Seattle a couple of years ago where it was a 1-0 game going into the 8th. We ended up winning that game in the 9th, 2-1, when he was pitching.
Yeah.
He burned it out in the 8th inning. They had to go to their bullpen. We got the bullpen.
That's right.
He went to about 127, 28 pitches.
Called strike, 0-2 the count. Now the 2-strike pitch. I also remember the game Hernandez pitched here in Cleveland where
unearned runs,
2 outs. I don't think there was any on base.
Right.
There was an error made, and then the Indians clobbered him for about a 4 or 5 spot.
Ground ball to second base.
Fly ball to center field, routine for Michael Bourne, although the sun's giving him some trouble, and he makes the catch. It's a 10-pitch first inning for Justin Masterson. The Indians are coming to bat. Starting lineup presented by Progressive, making it easy to bundle your home and car insurance. Michael Bourne leading it off, followed by Jason Kipnis, 4 hits in the series. For then it's Michael Brantley, Nick Swisher cleanup, Jason Giambi 5th, Carlos Santana in the 6th hole, then Mark Reynolds, Mike Avila starting at shortstop, batting 8th, and Drew Stubbs hitting 9th.
27-year-old right-hander Felix Hernandez on the mound, making start number 10. He is 5-2 and a league-leading 1.53 ERA. You can see the 64 strikeouts in his 64 and third innings. This guy, he's awfully tough. I'll give you some numbers later on, but this guy knows how to pitch, and he makes it tougher when runners get on base. And if he gets ahead of you, you got a better chance of winning the lottery.
Oh, it's not quite that bad.
Oh, yeah. Runners on, 165 average.
I'll take a 6 and 60 chance to win the lottery.
Yeah, well, when he gets you 0-2, they're hitting 100.
The 0-1 pitch down low to Michael Bourne. Bourne 5 for 10 in the series. Missed again, 2 balls and a strike.
You know, he will throw any pitch at any time. When he first came up, and he made his debut when he was 19 years old in 118 days, that third youngest player in Mariners history. So he's been around a long time and knows how to pitch.
Bourne swing and a miss. It's 2-2.
One of the guys you really don't hear a lot about because they play in Seattle. They're on the West Coast. You don't get to see him a lot. But this is one guy to watch.
For you, what makes him so good? He doesn't have any one pitch that really wows you, but what is it about him?
They're all good. I mean, watch his demeanor out there. He slows everything down. He gets out there. He'll throw anything at any count. He changes speeds. He knows when to throw the fastball.
Right back up the middle, Michael Bourne with a single to start the game. And now he turns. He's going to go for 2. He caught Morse with his head down.
How about
a hustling double by Michael Bourne.
That is outstanding hustle from your leadoff man right there. You know, you go up there, and as a hitter, you figure, okay, he's going to take a single, but he broke out of the batter's box and didn't hesitate. That's a great job of getting yourself an extra base, and those are little things you have to do against a guy like this that's on the mound. Look, they'll put their head down. Morse coming in. And then he looks up and realizes he has to throw on the run, and it's not accurate. Beautiful job. Michael Bourne, there you go. You want a Cadillac on me? He kicks it into gear.
Boy, he shot out of a cannon from first to second base. Now Jason Kipnis showed bunt, pulled it back, takes a ball.
Great hustle. Little things. That's what the leadoff man can bring to your lineup. And that's what we mentioned, that you want to score first on this guy.
Kipnis taking, and a fastball in there for a strike.
I told you, once he gets runners on, he's awfully tough as well. Hernandez a 165 average when they're on, but runners in scoring position, 5 for 51.
Now the 1-1. Cuts and misses at the off-speed pitch, and it's 1-2.
You see that this is the one thing, you get into a 1-1 count, you look for maybe something a little harder, and he throws you the good curveball. And that's got nice bite to it.
Strikes him out. 1 away.
Check out the Mariners' defense. They are rated second in the league. They have made only 15 errors this year. Ibanez is in left, Saunders back in center, Morrison right. It'll be Seager at third, Ryan at short, Ackley at second, Smoke at first, Montero back behind the plate. And you can see, only thrown out 1 of 24 base stealers. They stole 3 yesterday. But you got to have the base runners to get on and try and steal.
Mark Wegner calling the balls and strikes today. The crew chief Mike Winters down at third. Here is Michael Brantley now. And he takes a breaking ball for a strike. So for you, it's the fact that he's got multiple weapons, and they're all good pitches.
Yeah, and he can throw them all for strikes. He doesn't walk many. He's walked 10 guys, struck out 64. He's just got that knack out there.
Fouled right back, good fastball.
See, you start looking for something off speed. That fastball's 93. Normally he'll throw it 90, 92, but when he needs a little extra, he can still get it up there. The problem with him is they never get him any runs. He is 96 and 24 in 158 starts when they give him 2 or more runs. But in some of those starts, 247 starts, 89 times, 1 or less. That's tough to win a game that way. I don't care who you are.
That's a lot of games. 89 of his career starts, they have scored 1 run or they've been shut out.
Yeah. And sometimes that you would think it wears on a guy or wears on a pitcher, but he seems to go out there every time. In his last start against the Yankees, he pitched only 6 innings. That was his shortest start of the year.
Yeah, he had some back issues that knocked him out of that game early. Brantley with a soft line drive, base hit, right center field. They're going to wave Bourne around third. Here he comes. Morse, the throw to the plate. Not in time. Michael Brantley delivers an RBI single, and the Indians strike first. And Brantley alertly going to second because the throw airmailed the cutoff man.
Just a great job. Brantley getting the base hit, Bourne reading it, and a bad job by Morse letting the ball go because you allow that guy to get in the scoring position, you take the double play away. This will be our McDonald's. I'm loving it. Because of the hustle of Michael Bourne, the Indians are able to get on the board first. This throw will allow them for other opportunities. That takes the double play away from Hernandez.
Is that an outfielder who's still upset that he let Bourne get the second base and maybe trying to make amends for it?
Very well could be, but you have to hit your cutoff man. When you have a guy on the mound like this, you leave the opportunity to get a double play at all times.
Now Nick Swisher taking a first pitch strike.
But that was an easy read for Michael Brantley to go to second base because it airmailed. I mean, it wasn't even close to the cutoff man. You just continue to run.
Sinker low and away. 1-1 to count.
So the first inning treating the Indians well again today.
Swisher's seen quite a bit of Felix Hernandez in his career. He has homered 4 times off of him. In the dirt, good block by Montero. Two-one delivery. Swisher taking, and 3 balls and a strike.
Well, you see, Hernandez knows, too, the history of who's in the batter's box. And first base is open here because of that throw, allowing Brantley to get to second. So he's going to be careful here and not give in to Nick Swisher.
Good fastball, full count.
That was power against power there. He challenged him. Swisher let it go. Swings through it.
Nick 1 out of 6 in the series. That one hit was a double. Said after the game yesterday, one of his most embarrassing moments on the field. He thought he hit that ball out yesterday, and it died on the warning track in left field. 3-2 pitch. Hammered to first. It goes right through the legs of Smoke. Brantley will score. 2-0 Tribe.
Well, defense failing right now. Failing Hernandez. That possibly could have been a double play ball had Brantley been on first. But the Swisher hit it hard. It goes between the wickets. Here, Smoke. Good angle here, boys. Takes a hop, and it hits off his glove and trickles into right field. And after that, Brantley able to come around to score. So Swisher on first base. That'll be a flat-out error.
Yep.
That's only the 16th that Seattle has made.
But
Gives the Indians a run.
Technically, their third defensive miscue already in the first inning. You think about Morse allowing Bourne to get the second because he didn't hustle in and try to cut him off. And
which
then
doesn't show up in the paper tomorrow. You're right.
The throw that allowed Brantley to get to second base, so he scores on that error. Eric Wedge has probably got a slow boil going right now.
Well, this is one that they really need on this road trip.
That foul tip got Montero.
Because remember, we have one more game with Seattle. It's a wraparound series. It'll be at 12 o'clock tomorrow, so a 4-gamer.
This is coming into today's ball game. Mike Aviles, the reason he's in there today, I think.
Nice.
He's got good numbers. And Asdrubal Cabrera really didn't have good numbers. Just 3 hits and 17 at-bats against Hernandez.
Well, he struck Kipnis out, but Brantley got a base hit.
And the Indians already have a 2 spot on the board. Hernandez has not allowed more than 2 runs in any of his last 6 starts. He gave up 2 runs against the Angels, and that's the most he's allowed since his outing on April 11th when Texas got him for 4.
Well, they already have him up to 24 pitches now.
Good at bat by Giambi, and the count is 3-1.
And that's what you do. You get good starters. If he doesn't have a 1-2-3 inning, he's working out of the stretch. They have kept the pressure on him.
Well, that's why that leadoff hit so important to get him right out of the stretch.
And then a mistake made, and he hustles into it. Yeah, you're right. To give the Indians a little spark.
Giambi on the 3-1, fouling it back. Full count.
This is his 5th hitter, and already his 3rd full count.
Giambi with Carlos Santana waiting on deck. Swisher takes off, and the 3-2 is hammered foul. Boy, Giambi got the bat head out quickly on that 93-mile-an-hour fastball.
Well, they send Swisher. So obviously Terry Francona wants to keep the pressure applied. He figures Giambi's going to put it in play. Swisher not a base stealer by any means. Hasn't made an attempt this year.
And on the 3-2, fouls it off of his foot. Came with the off speed that time.
A little change up there.
So the Indians already 2 in, 1 out. Swisher will be moving again on the pitch, you would think. As Giambi has had a lengthy at bat here against Felix Hernandez, making him really work. 28th pitch of the inning already. There goes the runner. It's ball 4. Giambi walks, and the Indians have 2 on, still only 1 out. Here's our stat of the game, brought to you by your Northern Ohio Buick dealers. This season, the Indians have faced 7 Cy Young Award winners. They've beaten 6 of them. And as I mentioned in the open, according to Elias, they're the first team in Major League Baseball history to beat 6 past Cy Young winners before June the 1st.
That's scary. And today they're facing number 7. And you figure Jake Peavy's the guy that beat him. He's in our division. We face him a lot. They were able to get Verlander again this year. They got him twice last year. Yeah, that's just remarkable.
2 on for Carlos Santana. 1 for 7 in the series. That one hit a double. And it's called a strike. Fastball. That's the first walk that Hernandez has issued in the first inning of a game this year.
Well, he has had to work, and I mean really hard to get through it. There's still just 1 out.
Chop to first. Smoke will go to first base
and take the out, 2 down. That came very close to hitting the bag. And if it would have, Felix Hernandez might have just taken his jersey off and left the field. This is our great clip of the game from yesterday. Mark Reynolds, he said, when I swung the bat, my first thought was get through. And when it didn't get through, I thought, make a bad throw. And then I thought, just beat it out. He said, hey, it all worked out in the end. Montero came off the plate, and
you can't do that in that situation. As a catcher, you turn into a first baseman on that play. Bases loaded, nobody out. You know they're coming home.
If the throw's short, you still have to be on the
yes,
plate.
You do. You sure do.
Well,
good thing for the Indians.
Yep. Mark Reynolds driving in 3 runs yesterday, give him 37 on the year, tied with Robinson Cano for the league lead in home runs. A little bit outside with it, 1 ball, 1 strike. Terry Francona said Reynolds just has so much power.
Look at that stat with 2 outs.
He's been clutch.
He's been using the whole field.
He really has.
And that's the thing that's made him a big RBI guy. He's not trying to pull off pitches, in situations. Get to 2 strikes. Now it's more of a protect mode. When you're a power hitter, you earn your free swings, 2-0, 3-1s when you get into counts like that. But when you have ducks on the pond like you have here, then you turn into a different hitter to drive them home.
Able to lay off the ball in the dirt, 2-2. Well, Reynolds trying to drive in 2 more and make this a really big first inning. It will be the 35th pitch of the inning for Felix Hernandez. Reynolds strikes out. The Indians strike first, getting a pair in inning number 1, and they lead it 2-0. New premium McWrap. Try one today. And by Kia. It is a beautiful day in downtown Cleveland. It feels like summer.
Yes, it does. It's what it's supposed to be like.
81 degrees, a little humidity in the air.
Doesn't get any better on day baseball. The sun's out.
Another day game tomorrow. For those of you wondering, it's a 12 o'clock start because the Mariners are getting out of town. And then Detroit comes in Tuesday and Wednesday to finish up the homestand. Kendry Morales DHing for Seattle, 2 for 9 in the series. There's a strike called, 1-2. The count now on Morales, who appears to have something in his eye. Well, the Mariner trainer is going to come out and check him out. It wasn't Morales, but the man on deck who was a scratch in the series opener due to irritation in his eye. Morales getting the eye drops from the trainer to try to flush out whatever it was that was giving him problems. How about that bottom of the first inning? It took 17 minutes, and 4 Indians batters saw 5 or more pitches.
Well, it's a good first inning. Anytime you score on Hernandez and you make them work that much harder, that hopefully gets them out of the game. But sometimes it's not always a day at the beach when you get to their bullpen, because Seattle has a very good bullpen with some good arms in it. But it's nice to score on Hernandez first.
Morales ready to go. Masterson's 1-2 pitch. Line drive right field. And making the catch is Drew Stubbs. That ball was scorched, but Drew able to snare it for out number 1.
Nice. On the back, pedaling backwards. Line drive right at you, day games, very tough to pick it up. Once you do, that ball was hit hard. You can see it had some carry. And Stubbs is a big guy. He's 6'4" now.
Yeah.
So you can see he backpedals, and he can go get him with the best of them. So a nice catch. They have the glasses down.
Now Michael Morse 0 for 4 in yesterday's ball game. Takes ball 1.
Yeah, we were talking about yesterday some of the Seattle lineup. What they have to do is get a key hit. You know, they've been living with the home run ball. They've hit 50 home runs. But this is a guy here, Morse, who he supplies power, but he's a streaky hitter. You know, you look at Ibanez. Ibanez is an old guy. Right now, he's going very, very well. You know, but it's the last guy. Morales is the guy that they picked up that they really need to hit in the clutch for him.
Now the 2-1 pitch from Masterson. Hit in the air to center field. Pretty well struck. Back goes Bourne. Still going back on the track. And he makes the catch in the middle of the warning track for out number 2. Let's go downstairs and see what Katie Witham has on Indian starter Justin Masterson today.
Well, Matt, his last couple of starts, Justin's kind of had to feel it out to see whether his 2-seamer or his 4-seamer was working. Indians pitching coach Mickey Callaway told me it's important for him today to have a good mix of both of those pitches, also be effective with that backdoor slider and work the corners of the plate against this lefty lineup.
Raul Ibanez, one of those left-handed hitters, takes ball 1.
You know, it's nice if you can go out there as a starter and have all your pitches working every day. That's what you have to find out, what is and what isn't. And you may have to go to plan B sometimes. And on a real bad day, you may have to go to plan C. But, you know, he's coming off an excellent start. He seems to be throwing the ball very well.
Inside corner, a called strike. It's 2-1.
When he can throw in there to left-handers, that makes that slider that much better. Then it could be a good day.
Ibanez, as you see there, streaking in the last 8 games for the Mariners. Again to center field. Michael Bourne has it measured, and the Mariners go 1-2-3. Middle of the second, it's Cleveland 2, Seattle nothing. 6-0, bottom of the second. For the Tribe, Mike Aviles, Drew Stubbs, and Michael Bourne will turn it back over to the top of the order. Mike Aviles in his career, 6 hits and 14 at-bats against Felix Hernandez.
Well, had a good day yesterday. Had an opportunity to play left field. Had 7 putouts out there. Also had a couple of knocks, so he gets the chance to play again today as they give Cabrera a day off, which is a nice deal.
Well, the Indians are in a stretch of a lot of baseball.
20 out of 20.
In 20 days.
Yep.
Aviles pops it foul, out of play. 1-2 the count. Aviles has hit .297 here at Progressive Field so far this year. Feeling rather comfortable in his new home. Fastball drilled right back up the middle. The shortstop, Ryan, throws him out, 1 down. In between innings, we had a chance to catch up with Indians pitching coach Mickey Callaway. Mickey, what is the one thing that this pitching staff, the starters I'm talking about, have done that's impressed you so far this year?
I think it's their ability to pound the zone, and with conviction. They go out there every night and they throw the ball over the plate and make sure they don't get beat by, walking guys and stuff like that. So they've done a really good job this year.
Compared to the first 20 games started, other than Justin Masterson, everybody else has been carrying their load, and it's been a lot of fun for you, because they're starting to feed off each other now.
Yeah, exactly. I think they have a little friendly competition going, and it's been really good for these guys.
Nice shower.
Yeah. I'm getting clean here.
Thanks for your time, Mickey.
Thanks for having me, guys.
2 quick outs here in the second inning. Michael Bourne coming up. Terry Francona talked about the process, the interview process in which Mickey Callaway, went through it. And Terry said, I didn't know Mickey. He'd been in the organization. He'd pitched a long time professionally, but he said, I didn't really know him. And he said, so it was a lengthy process. He said, I really had to put him through the ringer to kind of get a feel. And what's impressed him the most so far is that everything that Mickey told him in the interview he has followed through with as a coach. In other words, if I say I'm going to do this with my pitchers, he's done exactly what he told Terry Francona that he would do.
Well, we're only 40 games into the year, and he has some consistency with Ubaldo Jimenez. He has other guys throwing strikes. McAllister has stepped up his game. Kluber's starting to clean his act up. So you got to give some credit where it's due. I mean, he has those guys every day, and, what's he, 37, 38 years old? Young guy. He's not that far removed from baseball.
That's what Terry said. He said if you wouldn't know any better, you'd think he was a longtime veteran pitching coach because of the way he carries himself, his presence, the way he handles the pitchers and talks to them, deals with them.
Well, he's done a nice job, and so far Terry's made a nice pick.
Yeah, Mickey just turned 38 last week. Michael Bourne taking a strike. Bourne got it started for the Tribe in the first. A hustling double. That turned into a run as the Tribe struck for 2 in the first. Full count. And the payoff. Right back up the middle. Ackley from his knees gets up and throws. Can't get him, though. Bourne's speed kills here. That 2-out single. And another infield hit. He's had at least, I think, 4 in the series.
Well, yeah. He had 2 the other day off the left-handers. This is 3. Might have had 1 the other night. He's got a lot of infield hits already. I mean, he hits it on the ball. And a lot of times, if it's not directly at the infielder, they have a tough time getting up and throwing him out, and he ties. I mean, he gets down there and beats it out. That's how you get 180 to 200 hits a year. When you go out there, you play 150 games, and you get infield hits like that.
9 infield hits. He's tied for the league, tied for 4th in the league in infield hits already this year.
Yeah.
But 4 of them have come in this series.
Right, you were right, 4. And Murph had the stopwatch on him from the crack of the bat to the touch of first base was 3.9.
That's pretty fast.
That's very good from the left side of the plate. Very good. Anything under 4 is fast.
How fast did you get down there in your
3.7, 3.8?
Yeah.
And they say on a drag bunt. Now, this is what they used to say, but you believe it if you want. Mickey Mantle used to do it in about 3.1, 3.2 on a drag bunt. Believe it.
Wow.
That's what they say.
Yeah.
Now, you got to believe it, don't you? And then he had knee problems, hurt himself. You talk about power and speed. But anything under 4 from the left side of the plate, right side's going to be a little slower because, they've got a step or so farther to go. But 3.9 is excellent.
Jason Kipnis struck out his first time up in a good count here, 2-0. Turned it loose. But Hernandez changed it up a little bit, took just a little bit off. And it's 2-1. So it's got to be difficult as a hitter. You almost have to, I don't know, how do you even
What do you
go
sit
up
on?
with a plan?
Well, that's the toughest thing. You have to have a plan to go up there, at least what you look for, what they spot out and what you see. But that's what makes him go. You ask me what makes him so good. It's the intangibles. The way he grips the ball, the way he holds different pitches. It can be a variation of 2 or 3 miles an hour, but it may do something different with the same arm speed. And it's him that makes the difference.
I mean,
That's why he's
Kipnis
as
went
good
from
as he
2-0 in the catbird seat to just seeing 2 nasty pitches
Right.
back to back.
And now not knowing what to look for.
Yeah. A little bit inside, a full count.
Five full counts now for Hernandez. Over 50 pitches. This will be pitch number 52. I know you don't like to talk about it, but it is the second inning, and they're going around that lineup again.
Bourne takes off, and Kipnis spoils it to stay alive. Jason, 4 hits in the series, including that thrilling game-winning home run in the series opener in the 10th inning. 3-2 pitch. Bourne goes. Kipnis lines it to center field, a base hit. Bourne hits second. On his way to third. He'll get there without a throw. Runners at the corners with 2 down here in inning number 2 as the Indians continue with that 2-out hitting.
That's a good job by Kipnis. He had the count in his favor, but had to battle to get back, and now on the full count, he gets a pitch that Hernandez makes a mistake, throws it down the middle, and guess what? Kipnis takes advantage of it. He's swinging a hot bat. Bourne sort of lulled him to sleep. He was going to third base all the way. So with 2 outs, the Indians get back-to-back singles.
And a chance for Michael Brantley, who has more hits against Hernandez than any other Indian. 7 career knocks for Michael Brantley after that RBI single in the first. Out of play. Now, I was waiting for somebody to get after that first pitch because so far this year, if you put the first pitch in play against Felix Hernandez, the average is 385, and 2 of the 3 home runs he's allowed have come on first pitches.
Okay.
Now the 0-1. There's a long fly ball. Deep center field. Saunders back. He's out of room. It's out of here. Michael Brantley, a 2-out, 3-run homer in the second, makes it 5-0 Cleveland. Brantley's second home run of the year. He didn't get the first pitch, but boy, did he get the second one.
I was going to say, are you happy with that one? It wasn't the first. And it was with 2 outs and nobody on. They put another 3 runs on the board with 3 consecutive hits. That makes it a 5-0 game. Brantley hits his second. And again, Hernandez gives him the fastball. Kipnis got it. Brantley gets it. And they're teeing off. And you don't do this to this guy. The Indians are some kind of hot. Most earned runs he's allowed all year.
Nick Swisher taking a fastball strike over the outside corner. Might have been a changeup. Good looking pitch. It's 0-2.
It's only the 4th home run given up by Hernandez. And it's a top part of the lineup that's doing it for the Tribe. Bourne has scored 2, Brantley 2.
Strike 3 called, ends the inning. But Michael Brantley doing the damage today. An RBI single in the first. A 3-run homer here in the second. 5-0 Cleveland. Go to the third inning. The Indians putting it on Felix Hernandez so far here today. Justin Masterson has retired all 6 Seattle hitters that he has faced to this point. He'll get Justin Smoke, Jesus Montero, and Brendan Ryan in the third. Well, the 2-out hitting continues to be amazing with this club. They've now scored 24 runs this year when there were 2 outs and nobody on base. You talk about doing it the hard way.
Yeah, that is the hard way, but they have been so good at it. That surprises me this year, the consistency of it,
yeah.
But also the starting pitching, I would think, number one.
A little bit outside.
But, boy, early offense helps.
Oh, wow. Pulled the string on him and Smoke way out in front. 1-2 the count. Strikes him out. Went up the ladder. Second strikeout for Justin. 1 down in the third. Today's injury report brought to you by Elk & Elk Serious Lawyers. For serious injuries, call 1-800-ELK-OHIO. Brett Myers came through his first rehab stint with flying colors, threw the ball well. In fact, he went through his first rehab assignment so well that Terry Francona was surprised to see him in the dugout Friday night. He thought something went wrong. He said, well, what are you doing here? I'm already done, man. I plowed through him.
Well, he threw, 20-some pitches in the start in the game and then went to the bullpen to throw some more.
Montero swinging a miss. It's 0-2. So Myers getting close to come back.
That's going to be interesting because if Kluber comes out in his next start, let's say he pitches another good game like Philly, they have a decision to make, which is great. I want to see the pressure on him because they
that's what you want.
Yes,
you want good competition to push each other.
Kluber's starting to get it a little bit. He used his fastball a little more, and Myers is a veteran, and if healthy, he certainly could help this club.
Montero waves at it and strikes out. Third K for Masterson, 2 down in the inning.
Well, Justin, awfully tough on right-handers. Not an easy guy to face, but especially when you get 2 strikes. He is so far out in front of that breaking ball. They're hitting under 200 on the year. He has 31 strikeouts against righties, 31 strikeouts against lefties.
Brendan Ryan has rediscovered his swing in this series. Came in hitting 1-4. Wow, that went behind him and hit him. That's the first base runner of the game. Masterson had retired the first 8 straight, struck out the last 2. And so Ryan is aboard with 2 down.
Well, this guy, he's been swinging the bat, and you don't want to think that was intentional, especially the way they're swinging it with Ryan hitting. But he hasn't lost one like that all day.
He's been razor sharp to that point. Michael Saunders struck out his first time up. And it's outside for ball 1. Fouled right back, and the count 1-1. Now the 1-1 offering. Down and in, he missed. Did not go around on the appeal. Ground ball towards second. Kipnis can't get to it. Actually, he got to it, but looked like the ball skipped under his glove, and now Ryan goes all the way to third.
Well, I'm sure with the range that Kipnis has, he felt he should have caught that ball. It wouldn't have been easy. Would have had to stop, turn, and make a throw. But he just doesn't catch the ball. I don't know if he short-armed it or what. It gets under his glove, so that keeps the inning going. He was there. He just didn't get down low enough, so it goes as a single.
Yeah, the way he went after it almost looked like maybe he was expecting it to hop up.
Maybe hit the lip. Who knows? So now Seattle trying to do there's some 2-out damage.
Dustin Ackley takes a strike, grounded out his first time up. So the Mariners get their first base runner on the hit by pitch and their first hit here in the third inning. Up high, 1-1. Pounded the inside corner with a good fastball, and it's 1-2. Ackley is 2 out of 10 in the series. He did have a 10-game hitting streak earlier this year in the month of April. 2 on, 2 out, 1-2 pitch. A little bit outside to even the count. And the 2-2. Swing and a miss. He strikes him out. Masterson whiffs 3 Mariners here in the third. It remains 5-0 Cleveland. Enjoy a cold one and stay tuned later in the game for Miller Time, brought to you by Miller Lite. Bottom of the third, Tribe out in front 5-0. They got 2 off Felix Hernandez in the first, and then Michael Brantley touched him up for a 3-run homer with 2 down in the second. Jason Giambi, Carlos Santana, Mark Reynolds coming up. Giambi walked in the first, takes inside ball 1. Chops it to first. Smoke smothers it, takes it himself, 1 away. Here's the Firestone Complete Auto Care Extra Mile Index coming into play today. Felix Hernandez had the league lead in earned run average at 153. At present, that ERA has bumped over 2.
Well, the guy that's third, Iwakuma, is pitching tomorrow's game for Seattle. He's been very good as well, so he's going to be a tough customer.
Yeah. Wonder if we'll see Clay Buchholz when we go to Boston. It's a 4-game series.
We will.
You'd think we
I would think so. Why not? Let's get the best.
Santana bounces it to second base. His offensive struggles continue, and there are 2 down here in the third. How about the AT&T trivia question? Let's have a look. On this Sunday afternoon, 4 players have hit 3 home runs in a game after the age of 40. 4 players have had a 3-homer game after the age of 40. We'll have the answer coming up later on. Mark Reynolds chops it to third, and that's a foul ball. Reynolds struck out his first time up.
Guess what? Murph just told me we missed Buchholz.
Is that right?
Yeah, he just told me. It's the only one we miss.
That's funny. Now, Boston's been playing pretty good. They're only a game out of first. They've won 4 straight. Reynolds fights it off. But speaking of playing well, the Indians, 24-17 on the year. They're a game in front of Detroit.
Month of May has been great.
Yeah, they've played really well at home, too, after the slow
Yes.
start. Last 13 games at home, they're 11-2.
They played well against the Western Division as well.
Reynolds takes a called third strike, and the Indians go 1-2-3 for the first time today. Hernandez on 7 pitches retires the side. 5-0 Indians on top. Heading to the 4th inning now. Kyle Seager, Kendry Morales, and Michael Morse due up for the Mariners. Justin Masterson, perfect through the first 8 batters, then a hit batter and a base hit. That's been it. He has whiffed 4. Seager fly to center his first time up, takes a called strike. Slowly chopped to third, and Mark Reynolds can take his time. Flips it over, 1 away. Let's check out Katie Witham. She's got some celebrity news here at the ballpark today.
Kevin Costner is actually here in the ballpark, hanging out in the crowd. I had a chance to sit down with him before the game started for a few minutes. Such a nice guy. He's actually in Cleveland right now taping Draft Day, which is a movie about the Browns going to be coming out soon. But he told me he's a huge baseball fan, and it's not even that the Indians are on this hot streak. He was going to come anyway, but, man, he was excited to come out and see exactly what they have going on.
Well, they had a lot going on the first 2 innings here against King Felix.
Well, you're not kidding. They jumped all over him.
Yeah, he has been a baseball fan for a long time.
Well, 2 of the best baseball movies ever made, he's been the star in. Bull Durham.
Right.
And, of course, Field of Dreams. And For the Love of the Game was pretty good, too. It just wasn't quite in the category of those other 2. 3-0 the count here on Kendry Morales, who lined to right back in the second.
Changing sports on us, though, huh? Going to
He's
football?
going to football now, yeah. That's 3-1 to count. And it's ball 4. First walk issued by Justin Masterson.
Well, MLB.com at bat is the #1 source for live baseball everywhere you go. Available for iPhone, iPad, Android, and BlackBerry 10. At Bat delivers Indians baseball with live audio, pitch tracking, stats, news, highlights, and more. Text at bat to 31826 or visit Indians.com for the details.
It's kind of interesting, when you start thinking about how many Hollywood movies have featured Cleveland sports teams. You got the Major League movies. What was the one back in the Kid from Cleveland? Wasn't that?
You're getting no help back there from the second bench.
Looking at them. The Fortune Cookie, of course, was the football movie. Well, it's sort of was part of the story of it, involving the Cleveland Browns.
Backbench, no help today.
No. Yeah, the Kid from Cleveland was made the year after the 48 World Championship team here in the Cleveland. Yeah, with I think some of the players were in the movie as well. Well, there's going to be filming right here in downtown Cleveland coming up later this summer.
End of the month, yeah.
For another
May
movie.
May 30th.
Yeah.
They've had signs posted coming in for a while now. Last couple of homestands.
Popped him to center.
Got inside on the big man there.
Michael Bourne has it 2 down. Right now on FoxSportsOhio.com, the top 10 most memorable home runs at Progressive Field. And where does Jason Kipnis' homer from the other night rank? That's got to be up there. Check out Indians Game Connect. All of today's action involving Ohio sports on FoxSportsOhio.com. Raul Ibanez, who flied to center his first time up, takes a strike over the outside corner. A little bit high. The ball and a strike for Ibanez, who is 4 for 10 in the series. 2 of his hits have gone for home runs.
Well, you remember when he was at the Yankees in that playoffs, he was the only guy hitting. And if it wasn't for him hitting the home runs, they would have been done a long time before that.
He's one of those players that maybe it kind of took him a while to sort of figure things out, I guess. What kind of player was he? Was he going to be a power guy? Was he just a line drive hitter?
Well, he never had a position. So
he'd always move around.
He would move around. You didn't know where you were going to play him. And wasn't spectacular at anything, but very good at a lot of different things, you know. And has hung around the game a long time. Very important to a ball club. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
The teammates love him wherever he's played.
I talked to him years ago,
with Kansas City?
Yeah, and he was University of Miami, down in Florida, product of that baseball program. Fouled back out of play. But you spend 5 minutes with him, you can see why.
Right.
Everywhere he goes, people like him.
Uh-huh.
Justin Masterson, 58th pitch of the afternoon coming up here. 34 have been for strikes. And the 2-2 up high with a heater. Full count. Canary Morales takes off on a 3-2 pitch, and Ibanez lifts one in the air to right field. Stubbs over near the line. Drew makes the catch, and the Mariners are retired. We go to the bottom of the fourth. It remains Cleveland 5, Seattle nothing.
May 31st, the Tampa Bay Rays will be in town. That'll be a weekend series, so come on out, load up on hot dogs all night long for only $1 each.
Bottom of the fourth, the Indians will send Mike Aviles, Drew Stubbs, and Michael Bourne to the plate. Isn't this funny? You remember yesterday I was talking about how well Aviles has swung the bat with runners in scoring position this year, and he led off 3 straight times.
Right.
He's led off 2 straight times here today.
That's just how the cards are falling. Yeah, the top of the lineup has done the damage today. Well, there you go.
Oh, yeah. Mike Aviles pulls one down the line. That's in the corner. That's extra bases. And he's into second base with his 7th career hit off Felix Hernandez.
Well, he doesn't care. You get guys on, he likes to swing it, and he's been a good leadoff man the last couple days because he had 2 hits yesterday, and he gets another one today. This time the leadoff double. Mike Aviles has done a nice job in his role so far this year. He cruises in. It'll be his 4th double. So now that's the first.
Yeah, he had a double leading off the 6th inning yesterday.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
So other than the top 3 guys, that's the first guy in the lineup to get a hit.
Now Drew Stubbs grounded to short his first time up. He takes, and it's a called strike to even the count. Drew has batted .281 in the month of May with 6 doubles, 4 runs batted in, and 7 runs scored. And the 1-1.
That'll get the job done.
It's like a bunt. Montero jumps on it, throws to first. They just got him. And Montero's late getting back to the plate. Aviles scores! Oh, another hustle play for the Indians. Aviles just kept on going, and Montero was caught in no man's land. And it's 6-0 Cleveland.
God, do I love that. That is absolutely beautiful. That's, right out of the chute, he realized the catcher's going to vacate home plate because he has to go get the ball. So you have to be a heads-up player. Now watch Smoke come in. He watches Aviles round the base, held on to it. Nobody was there to throw to.
Right.
Just a beautiful play.
He was heads up. He was coming home, but there was nobody to get the ball to.
How about getting Stubbs an RBI from second base on an infield ground out?
Gotta love it.
That's a heads-up play. Beautiful.
Michael Bourne 2 for 2 on the day, a single, a double, 2 runs scored. And the Indians have hung a 6 spot on Felix Hernandez. Most runs he's allowed this year. He gave up 4 in back-to-back starts to Texas and Chicago. Now the 1-2 pitch. Inside. Boy, Michael Bourne and Jason Kipnis are starting to get a little chemistry maybe going at the top of the order. They've combined to go 12 for 23 in the first 3 games of the series now, with 3 runs scored, 5 driven in.
Table setters.
Bourne strikes out, and there are 2 down. Here's our AT&T U-verse Rewind, and this has been a theme throughout the day now for Seattle, some of the defensive lapses.
And this is great hustle to make that defensive lapse. That's just great hustle on Michael Bourne's part. Gets the double. Brantley now gets the hit. Now what the throw coming home, airmails the cutoff man. Now the error. Those are going to happen. You don't catch the ball. You don't like them, but... And I'll tell you, just outstanding hustle again in this inning by Aviles to score from second base on a little bouncer out in front of the plate. It's been great hustle and some lapses defensively.
So you can't really put it all on Hernandez necessarily, but the 6 runs scored today represent the most he's given up since his last start of last season when the A's got him for 7.
Well, back at that time of the year, the A's were playing as good as anybody in baseball.
Well, they sure were.
On the way to the West Division title.
And they're starting to pick it up again. They moved ahead of Seattle into second place in the AL West.
Well, they've always been a second-half team, but they're at the 500 mark. You have to get there to start.
Kipnis sends a high drive deep to left. Ibanez back on the track at the wall. Can't make the catch. Into second base with a 2-out double is Jason Kipnis. His second hit of the day, his 6th hit in the series, and the Indians' second double in the inning.
Well, again, this is what surprises me. He's driving the ball the other way. He stayed on that one and has enough carry to hit off the wall, the auxiliary scoreboard. Ibanez goes back. He's not going to get it. It comes deflecting back. A nice job by Saunders to get over there and back up, or it would have been a triple. So for Jason Kipnis, his 9th double, 3rd double of the game for the Indians.
Michael Brantley's had himself a day. 3-run homer, RBI single.
Yeah, he has.
Interesting, too, when you think about it, Rick. Brantley goes into the 3-hole because Asdrubal Cabrera gets the day off. And
right.
It has really paid off handsomely.
Brantley goes to the 3-hole, and Aviles gets the start. Michael Brantley picked on a fastball here with 2 outs in the 2nd inning and gave it a ride into the Indians' bullpen. After Bourne and Kipnis had singles, that's 3 runs with nobody out. I mean, with 2 outs, and they had nobody on and did some damage. They're hitting over 400 in this series with 2 outs.
Brantley has already equaled his career high in runs batted in with the 4 driven home today. When a hitter is down 0-2 coming into today, and Rick gave you the numbers, 6 for 60 against Hernandez.
Well, and they've done a good job hitting with runners in scoring position. They came in under 100. You know, today the Indians, well, let's say it was before this one, 2 for 6. They were 3 for 6 with runners on. They're swinging it. And as we say, just another Cy Young Award winner on the mound facing the Indians, and they've got a 6th spot.
Yeah,
to go to that graphic we showed you earlier.
The 1-2. Brantley with a ground ball to first. Smoak will take it himself. And the inning is over, but the Indians strike again. This time, a hustling play by Mike Aviles gets the 6th run home. 6-0 Cleveland. Wireless receiver only from AT&T UVerse. Rethink possible. By your local Toyota dealers. Toyota, let's go places. And by Panini's with 18 locations in Northeast Ohio. Well, on a gorgeous day in downtown Cleveland, a real summer-like afternoon, the Indians putting it to Seattle so far 6-0. Justin Masterson will face the bottom third of the Mariners' order here. Justin Smoak takes a strike. 60 pitches for Justin. 36 of the 60 have been strikes. and he's had 8 batters down on the count 0-2 or 1-2. There's a ground ball single through the right side for Smoke. His 4th hit in the series. And Seattle gets their leadoff man aboard.
All right, well, we told you when the Rays come to town, Friday night will be Dollar Dog Night. But Saturday, June 1st, it's a 1:05 start. The first 10,000 fans will receive an Albert Bell bobblehead. Come on out to the ballpark. I want to see those arms again. I saw him pointing at the muscles.
Yeah.
They didn't make them. We're going to have to feed it some spinach. See if he can get those muscles pumped up before June 1st.
Jesus Montero struck out his first time up. Yankees have already been rained out today at home against Toronto.
Well, they don't waste any time. They don't want to play. They say, see you later. And you know what? They would want to play because they're playing Toronto, and I think they're 8-1 against them this year.
White Sox, Royals, Tigers all play later this afternoon. White Sox are on the West Coast. Tigers are in Texas. Boston, Minnesota are scoreless there in the first inning at Target Field. Ball 4, so a hit and a walk here in the 5th inning. And Santana goes out to talk with Masterson as the number 9 hitter Brendan Ryan is coming up.
All right, bottom part of the order getting it started here in the 5th. Yeah, this afternoon so far Masterson has walked a pair and hit a batter, and that's Ryan who's coming to the plate that he hit back in the 3rd inning with 2 outs.
Well, this goes back to what we talked about yesterday. Eric Wedge saying that the thing that's missing for his club right now and why they can't sort of get over the hump is they cannot hit with runners in scoring position, and they're just 1 for 16 in the series.
Well, that's something that, certainly has to improve. That's why you look at their offensive numbers, and they're down in the league in that department. Runs scored, they're 14th out of 15 teams. Coming into today, they had 160 runs scored. Now, they're in a division that has very good pitching in the West, but you have to find a way to score, especially when you have certain guys on the mound like you have Hernandez today. But Hernandez has given up more than he's given up since his last start of last year.
The 0-1. Swung on and missed. That one hit Seattle has with a runner in scoring position in this series came off the bat of Brendan Ryan when he hit that 2-run homer.
That was his first home run of the year.
That got him going yesterday.
Sure did.
Masterson's 0-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. He strikes him out. That's 4. Make it 5 strikeouts for the right-hander. And he's got the first out here in the 5th inning as we go back to the Hyundai Studios for an in-game update with Al Pawlowski.
Matt, Rick, the Cincinnati Reds have the second-best record in the National League at 26-17, and today they have a 1-0 lead on Philadelphia. Thanks to Jay Bruce here in the 2nd inning. A solo home run, his 5th of the year. Homer Bailey's on the hill. It's the 4th inning. He's ahead. 1-0. Matt?
Well, it should be a lot of fun when the Indians and Reds hook up this year. A 2-2. 2 there, 2 here. 4 straight days.
The Reds are a good team.
Yes, they are.
And we will end up there after our trip to Boston. So the next road trip will get them too, and they'll be right back here on, Wednesday and Thursday.
And obviously because of the off-season trade, you'll be facing Shin-Soo Choo. Drew Stubbs will be facing Cincinnati.
It'll be fun.
A strike called to Michael Saunders. .70 pitches now for Masterson on the day. 41 of those have been strikes. And a strike called to the outside corner. On the 1-2 pitch, a foul out of play to the left. The 1-2. Swing and a miss, another strikeout. A half dozen Ks for Masterson. And after a hit and a walk to start the inning, he has struck out the last 2 batters.
Good breaking ball. I mean, this was all set up. It's a backdoor breaking ball by that strike 1 pitch where he threw it inside to him and had a little comeback to it. And then he went to the backdoor slider the next 2 strikes and gets the strikeout again. That has made him so much more effective to left-handers this year than he has been in the past. But to open that slider up, first of all, he's throwing it for strikes, but it's also that fastball inside that really sets it up.
The 0-1. Slowly chopped to first base. Swisher takes it himself, and the inning is over. Masterson continues to shut out the Mariners. Indians on top, 6-0. Indians scoring 2 in the first, 3 in the second, adding a run in the fourth. And they've got the lead by a half dozen.
Look at that. Pretzel's bigger than she is. She needs a whole bottle of mustard just to finish that.
No kidding. Nick Swisher reached on an error and has been called out on strikes so far today. He hammers this one to the gap in right center field. Morse tries to cut it off, but he can't. And into second base with a leadoff double is Nick Swisher, his 11th two-bagger of the year.
Well, a 4th double for the Indians, and what an approach they have put on Felix Hernandez today. They have stayed back. They've hit an assortment of pitches. This may not be his sharpest game, but you can't take anything away from the Indians' offense. Because coming into today, he was right at 14 pitches per inning. Today, the Indians have made him go to average 20 or almost 21 pitches. So they've done a terrific job.
Now Jason Giambi, who has walked and grounded out. And with more on Jason Giambi and the impact he's had in the clubhouse, and in particular on Jason Kipnis, here's Katie with him.
Well, Matt, their relationship started before Kipnis even met Giambi. He told me his coach down in Mahoning Valley, Travis Fryman, actually showed him a side-by-side picture of himself and Giambi to point out how similar they are. And then after he met him, he realized they actually have similar approaches at the plate, too, in terms of letting their hands do the work and staying through the ball. But Kipnis said what gets him is just how approachable Giambi is. He's been to the World Series, is an MVP, and yet he wants to talk baseball all the time. And Kipnis has been just trying to soak it up.
And I think that's why most people feel he will make a very good manager because he's got that kind of personality that players are drawn to him.
And he's got the credibility.
Yep.
You know, he's been there, he's done it. And why wouldn't you want to soak up all the knowledge he can? If he's willing to give it up, why not?
1-2 pitch. Missed inside.
There comes a certain point in time as a ball player that you realize you're at the end of your career. I mean, this guy's over 3 years old, so you know it's coming out. So you want to pass on the game, you know, to the younger people, and that's what it's all about. That's what makes this game so great, the tradition, the history, the knowledge that you have. You share it with the youth.
Well, Felix Hernandez had allowed an average of 2 extra base hits per game coming into today's start. That's through 9 starts this year. And the Indians have already touched him for, what'd you say, how many doubles? 5 doubles?
They got 4 doubles.
4 doubles and a home run. So the 5 extra base hits. Giambi, another good at bat. That's his second walk of the game. Our in-game recap brought to you by your local Toyota dealers. Michael Brantley got it started in the first with an RBI single. And then the second run came home on the error by Justin Smoke at first base, and the Tribe jumped all over him. Then Michael Brantley in the second inning with 2 on and 2 out, crushed a home run to straightaway center field, and that made it 5-0. The Tribe has since added another run to it. And now Carl Willis going out to the bullpen, or out to the mound as you look into that Seattle bullpen. And Charlie Furbush, the left-hander, getting loose. But for Carl Willis, there's not a whole lot he can tell Felix Hernandez at this point. I mean, he's already given up 6. He's closing in on 100 pitches for the day. You know, here's the interesting thing. We've talked a lot about the inning number 5 this year, how the Indians have thrived in that 5th inning. This year they've hit 328 as a team. They've hit 15 homers. They've scored 42 runs. It's by far in their most productive inning. And, you know, you wonder, well,
why?
I talked to some of the Indians analytics guys, and they were talking about the fact that, you know, one theory is that's when you're turning over that lineup maybe for the 3rd time in the ball game. Pitcher maybe start to get that fatigue factor going. You know, there's a lot of different factors, but I thought that was pretty solid reasoning that, you know what, veteran hitters like the Indians have in their lineup, they've seen him now a couple of times. They know what he's got. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen here in this 5th inning today in particular because they've already put 6 on the board against Hernandez. But
well, then you know what? You better ask them why they do so well against Cy Young Award winners.
Let's try to figure that
because
one out.
Because now maybe that's it. They have veteran hitters and they have a history. And when you go through the 3rd time, who knows?
Well, look at how much trouble they've had with guys who are rookies. And they haven't seen.
You know, I think
Could
a lot of teams that happens where you don't have a book on them and you got to go up there and just get after. But you have to do it. They've got to do the same thing. Throw strikes.
Gets away from Montero, and the runners both advance.
Now, you see, that's, to me, I don't know if that's a wild pitch or a pass ball, but that's a ball that the runner should not be able to advance. They give him a wild pitch. Let me see the effort on this. It didn't look like it hit by much.
Oh, no.
It was, but it's a little backhand. He thought he was going to be able to catch it. And to me, all right, that'll go as a wild pitch, but to me, that should be a pass ball.
1-1 pitch. Well, with 2 runners on base in a game like this, he's got to at least make a better effort to block it.
A one-run game or something like that.
You
don't nonchalant it. And, you know, that's another thing that they could do in baseball, too. Make a stat for the times that catchers block balls and don't allow runners to advance.
Yeah.
That goes unnoticed by those guys that take a beating every day. You know what? Make a stat for a catcher that does his job on a daily basis of not allowing runners to advance when a pitcher's on the mound.
Call it blocks.
I'll tell you what.
You get a block if you keep the ball in front of you and the runners don't advance. 3-1 pitch to Santana. Fouls it back out of play.
That swing's getting big for Santana. You can see that's why he followed off. He had a pitch to hit, and he's upset with himself. But if you watch, that swing got a little bit too long.
Well, he's hitting 204 in May. So last 16 games, last couple of weeks, it just seems like he's, as you said, getting long.
You got to tighten it up, shorten it up.
3-2 pitch. Strikes him out. Pulled the string on him, and that's a half dozen Ks for Hernandez. One away.
Yeah, when you have a longer swing, sometimes the slower the better. He's going to screw himself right into the ground. With that high leg kick, it's all a timing mechanism, and his timing's not on right now. And you can see it by his swing.
Mark Reynolds has struck out twice today against Felix Hernandez. Mariners will bring the infield in.
See him trying to shoot it the other way.
Out of play down the right side. That's outside. Good eye there. 1-1 to count. It was Reynolds who batted with runners at second and third in the first inning. There were 2 outs, and he went down on strikes in that situation. This time a fly ball gets you 1. Ground ball probably has to get through. 1-1. Shoots it foul over toward the Tribe dugout, and the count now a ball and 2 strikes.
I want to send out congratulations to Anthony and Esther LaGuardia. They are celebrating their 62nd wedding anniversary. So, Anthony and Esther, enjoy your day.
Happy anniversary indeed. What a beautiful weekend to celebrate. Here's the 1-2 pitch now to Reynolds. Inside, down at his back foot, and the count evens up. Now the 2-2. Hit hard, just foul. It was hugging that line, but went left just in front of the bag. And so everybody returns to their bases. Reynolds will try again to extend this Indians lead up 6-0 here in the 5th inning. Hernandez over 100 pitches on the afternoon. Two-two delivery. Downstairs, a full count. Mike Aviles waits on deck. Swisher at third. Giambi at second. Infield is in. And the 3-2 pitch to Reynolds. He strikes him out for the 3rd time today, and that's 7 now in the game for Hernandez.
Let's check out this 3-2 pitch on the Nissan pitch tracker. That's a ball that I think he's gotten Reynolds a swing at 3 different times today, where you see the great downward movement. It still looks like a fastball. Look at, he wanted to bust his bat right there. He worked very hard in that at bat, and Hernandez still gets the strikeout.
Is that
yes,
sort of a hybrid changeup?
It really is, and it stays at about 91, but it's got great downward movement.
Well, Mike Aviles doubled into the left field corner his last time up.
Well, this would be a terrific job by Hernandez to get out of this inning if he can, when they had second and third and nobody out, going with the strikeouts.
He went too far. It's 0-2.
Now, Villas didn't think so, and he's going to let Laz Diaz know it. It was close. He knew he didn't want to because he had a very good swing and doubled in his last at-bat. Now, time to go to work, Mike. Finally comes up with guys in scoring position.
Yeah.
Now. There you go.
And he strikes out. How about that, Hernandez? Second and third, nobody out. He strikes out 3 straight, 8 in the game, but it's the Indians with a 6-0 lead.
$19.20 road logo. That's a T-shirt giveaway. It'll be courtesy of Sherwin-Williams and the first 10,000 fans on May 29th. They'll receive one when the Indians take on the Cincinnati Reds. $19.20. The first T-shirt giveaway was a big kit.
The red 75
the
Indians?
70s. Yeah, this one's a 1920. That'd be awesome, man. Go put it in your collection.
Justin Masterson carries a shutout into the 6th. They'll face Kyle Seager, Kendry Morales, and Michael Morse. Seager has flied out, grounded out. And the count quickly, 0-2. Seattle has 2 hits in the ballgame. Michael Saunders singled in the 3rd. Justin Smoke singled in the 5th.
Uh-oh.
And that one, he just fought it off and bloops it to left field.
0-2 count, but nothing you could do. Exactly right. It might have been elevated a little bit, but that still got to put it in play. Gets down on the trademark. It was just a little bit too high for him. Look at him. He climbed the ladder to get up there and get that one.
Kendry Morales has lined out and walked. And Masterson fires it in there for a strike. .51 out of 80 pitches have been strikes for Masterson so far here today. And we talked to Mickey Callaway earlier, the Indians pitching coach. I asked him what's the one thing the starters have done that has impressed you the most. And he said how they've consistently pounded the strike zone and worked ahead in the count.
Strike machines. You're right, because when we talked about it, about 40% of the time it's 0-2, 1-2 with this staff. Today it's 12 times for Masterson, 0-2, 1-2. And we keep saying that, it seems like every start with every pitcher. But you see, they see it's rubbing off. When you see results and you go out there and you know you can do it and it proves you can do it when you're ahead in the count, boy, it's hard not to believe, isn't it?
And we've also seen hitters at times maybe being aggressive when they go up there, and so you just make an adjustment.
Then you'll start them off with an off-speed pitch. I mean, you have to throw quality strikes to get to that point.
Morales strikes out, and that's 7 now for Justin Masterson.
But when you do, I mean, you can have innings of 7 or 8 pitches. There's a nice tight slider by Masterson to get his 7th strikeout. But when you see it time and time again, how many times have we seen a pitcher get hit out early in the last 25 games? I mean, knocked out of the box.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're throwing too many strikes. Never. These guys are up there, and you let your defense work. We hit a spell there where they played great defense for, I'd say, about 2 weeks, before they made a couple of mistakes and errors, and those are things that happen. But, boy, the defense is in tune when you're throwing strikes, and everything seems to work out much better.
Well, and I think, too, for Mickey Callaway and Terry Francona, when what you preach bears the fruit of success, it just reinforces everything.
Yes.
And I think that's a big part of it. You can tell people till you're blue in the face you got to throw strikes, but if they're not getting successful results, it doesn't really take root. But these guys they're seeing it. The proof's in the pudding, the way they've been throwing the baseball. And obviously, it helps to have an offense that has been swinging the bats as well as they have.
Yeah, but the pitchers, they can't control offenses. They can go out there and control the other team's offense by not giving them any extra base runners, and they've done a great job of that.
Morse went fishing. That's 8 strikeouts now for Masterson as he has struck out the last 2 Mariners. Well, that's a second time today he has thrown a slider that virtually was in the other batter's box, and a hitter still couldn't help himself but go
Gets
chase
the
after
swing
it.
after it.
Raul Ibanez takes the ball. He's 0 for 2. He has flied out twice.
Well, in turn, last year they had a tough time striking out hitters as a staff. This year they're doing a much better job, well over 100 at this point last year.
Unless you're a pitcher who has just wipeout stuff, you're not going to get a lot of strikeouts if you're constantly 2-0,
Pitching
2-1, 3-1.
Correct.
So it all goes hand in hand.
Yep.
Whoa, look how the bat goes down near the camera deck.
That's up, boys.
Mark Mad Dog Madden is about as quick on his feet as they come down there, so he's fine.
He's going to be wearing a football helmet. There he is. He gives the A-OK.
How about
that
Mad
wasn't
Dog's
Kelly
son?
Shopik from the left side, was it?
No. Mad Dog's son is a lacrosse player at Baldwin Wallace University and scored the first ever goal in their program's history. They just started a lacrosse program.
So he's used to having things shot at him.
Andrew Madden.
Very
Mark's
nice.
son. Raul Ibanez now with a 1-2 pitch. Lifts it to left field. Back goes Brantley. Makes the catch. 6 goose eggs on the board thanks to Justin Masterson, and the Tribe leads by a half dozen. Mark Wedge has made today's Cleveland Clinic call to the bullpen for left-hander Charlie Furbush. Felix Hernandez went just 5 innings today. Touched for 6 runs, 5 earned, 8 hits, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts. 1 wild pitch, 1 home run. His shortest outing of the year.
Yep.
And the most runs he's allowed since his final start of 2012.
Well, they did a good job against him. Of course, some great hustle plays on the Indians' offense, some lackadaisical plays on their defensive side. But all in all, a great approach by the Indians' offense against that guy, King Felix. So now Furbush will take over. Pitched an inning and 2/3 in game number 1, had a couple of strikeouts. That's when that Seattle bullpen settled down in game 1 and retired 15 consecutive. So he had 5 outs in a row that he retired.
Drew Stubbs taking a strike. And now the count 0-2.
Charlie Furbush was with the Detroit Tigers originally. He was part of that trade for Doug Fister, going over to Detroit.
Down low with it, 1-2.
Good
Strike
pitch.
3 called on the outside corner. Let's get the answer to the AT&T trivia question. 4 players with 3 homer games after the age of 40.
Giambi's got to be one of them, I would think. I don't know. I didn't think about it. Stan the Man, Reggie Jackson, and Babe Ruth. How about that? That's pretty good company right there.
Michael Bourne's had a good day. Slices this one down the left field line. It's a foul ball. Stan the Man did it in 1962. Giambi 2 years ago. Reggie in 1986 in the twilight of his career at the end of the season.
Tell you what, back in the days, though, not many guys played until they're 40, much more so now. But you see 3 old schoolers there.
Babe Ruth finished his career in the National League, and the last home run he hit was at Forbes Field in Pittsburgh.
And
he hit one, I think it was over that roof. And it's a great story. He hits the home run, he circles the bases, and instead of going into his dugout, he inexplicably runs into the Pirates' dugout. He goes down to the end of the dugout, grabs a drink of water, and he sits down next to a pitcher who had just been called up from the minor leagues. Guy's sitting there on the bench sitting next to Babe Ruth, you know, like, what the heck's going on here? And the Babe takes a drink of water and says, boys, that last one felt real good. And he got up and ran back to the dugout and rode off into the sunset of his career. Into the Hall of Fame. Really into American lore. I mean, you think about how many, you know, the phrase Ruthian has become part of the vernacular.
Well, you'll never see anybody any better.
Jason Kipnis has singled and doubled today, scoring a run. Furbush pulled the string on him that time, and it's 1-1.
You know, because the stories will go on forever. And there was a time when the Angels used to have a coach, Jimmy Reese, who was an all-time coach, and he used to be one of the best fungo hitters ever. Him and Nolan Ryan went back for years when Nolan was out there, and he was supposed to be a roommate of Babe Ruth.
Yeah, that's the great thing about the game. The game goes on. The stories live forever. The Indians lead it today 6-0. Cam today, brought to you by Panini's Bar and Grill. Gorgeous sunny Sunday afternoon here at the ballpark, and the Indians in command, leading it 6-0 as we go to the 7th inning. Bottom third of the Seattle order coming up here. Justin Smoke, Jesus Montero, and Brendan Ryan all due up. Down low. A little bit outside with it. 3 balls and a strike. And a chopper foul. Rich Hill getting loose in the Tribe pen as Masterson closes in on 100 pitches for the day. Swing and a miss. Another strikeout, number 9 on the day for Masterson. Back to the studios one more time. Here's Al Pawlowski with an update.
All right, Matt, let's head to Target Field where Minnesota is hosting Boston. Top of the 2nd inning. Will Middlebrooks to right center, gets it over that high wall out there. It's a solo home run, his 8th of the year. Boston's added another in the 3rd. They're up 2-0 on the Twins. 3rd inning at Target Field, Matt.
All right, thanks, Al. Here is Jesus Montero, who has struck out and walked today.
Second straight game that Masterson has had 9 strikeouts. He had 9 in that gem that he pitched against the Yankees in the complete game. He has 9 now. He's only in the 7th inning. For Bat today, he's had 15 swings and misses. Nice.
Oh, very nicely done indeed. He locked him up. And now 10 strikeouts for Masterson.
There you go. Season high. Just a beautiful breaking ball. Look at it, locks him up. He thought that ball was going to come inside, and it just breaks over the plate.
Brendan Ryan, a swing and a miss. He was hit by a pitch back in the 3rd. Went down hacking in the 5th. And that goes back foul.
Yeah, the crowd's starting to enjoy this
Yeah.
start by Masterson, and they should. It's his 2nd straight start that has been phenomenal.
He already leads the American League with 2 shutouts. Over 100 pitches now on the afternoon.
This will be his last inning.
Fouled right back into the mask of Santana. Yeah, he won't get a chance for a shutout today.
No, but trying to end it on a great note, why not? You can strike out the side in the 7th and walk into the sunset. After your open today between you and Murph. This gunslinger.
This gunslinger brought his 6-shooter today.
Yes, he did. He brought 12 in that gun. He's got his extra bullets.
Here's the 1 of the 0-2 pitch. Almost chased after it, but held up. The 1-2. A little too tight with the heater.
That's all right. It's a keep me honest pitch. That's to set up this pitch where he can go that slider again down and away to the right-hander if he so chooses.
And the 2-2 is strike 3 call.
What a way to end it.
Masterson strikes out the side here in the 7th. 11 strikeouts. Isn't enough for his league-leading 7th win? Well, we've reached the 7th inning stretch, and it's brought to you by Spitzer Auto World. Life is hard. Buying a car As promised earlier, it's Miller time, brought to you by Miller Lite. How about this, Rick? Justin Masterson struck out 3 Mariners the first time through the lineup, 2 the second time through the lineup, and 6 the third time through the lineup.
Well, he got better as the game goes on. That tells you something about his stuff, how good this man can be. And, throwing strikes, and that slider's been devastating, and the last 2 were called. He ended up striking out the side in probably his last inning. And, what a performance again to follow up his last start with this start. Very special. Look at that, 7 of the last 9 outs via strikeout. Nicely done.
He had it working here today. Let's go back and look at our keys to the game from earlier. Well, he definitely set the tone, and they drove that pitch count up early in the first inning. He was over, 30 pitches in the first inning of this ball game as the Indians sent 7 men to the plate and scored a couple of runs. And then right back in the second, he had 2 outs, nobody on base. And Michael Bourne with the infield single. Then Kipnis with a line drive base hit. Brantley a 3-run homer. And that was really a huge tone setter for the Tribe today as Brantley takes a strike. Michael has driven in 4 on the day, equaling his career best. Tigers are in Texas. That's the night game. Kansas City is in Oakland. And the White Sox are in Anaheim. All those games getting underway later. The Yankees were rained out at home against Toronto. Tampa Bay leads Baltimore 2-1 there in the 6th in Baltimore. Boston shutting out Minnesota early 2-0 there in the 3rd at Target Field. Brantley takes a called 3rd strike. 1 down here in the 7th. Sports Time Ohio and the Indians are providing a great way to get your group to Progressive Field this summer. The Indians Fan Express. For more information on how you can get on board, call 216-420-HITS or log on to Indians.com. Second strikeout for Charlie Furbush.
Got a little clutter there.
A little bit of clutter.
Looks like Rich Hill up in the Indians bullpen. He has been used a lot, hasn't he? He's been in the first 2 games of this series. Looking like he's coming in the 3rd. There he is, getting loose.
You know how managers always say they really like to have 2 lefties in the bullpen?
Yeah.
You know who wants 2 lefties in the bullpen even more than a manager? The one lefty who's in the bullpen.
That's true. Good point, Matt.
Fly ball to right field. There are 2 down here in the 7th inning.
Well, the next Sugardale Dollar Dog Night will be Friday, May 31st. The Tampa Bay Rays will be in town. You can load up on hot dogs all night long. So for $1 each, come on out, get your tickets early, and have some fun at the ballpark.
Now Jason Giambi, who has walked twice today and grounded out. Oh, that is hit a ton. Deep down the right field line. Will it stay fair? No, it just went foul at the last possible moment.
Well, that girl got it, and I'll tell you what, that was hit a long way and over the foul pole. He caught a hanging breaking ball, and he was just a hair too quick on it. Stayed in there beautifully. Look at the body English. He wants it to stay fair. He knew it wasn't going to. He won't get another one in there unless it's hard. Oh, he did.
Locks him up to end the inning. We'll go to the 8th. 6-0 Cleveland. Jerry Francona makes today's Cleveland Clinic call to the bullpen for left-hander Rich Hill. Rich coming on for the 16th time this year, and he'll be facing the top of the Seattle order. 3 left-handed hitters in a row, and what a job by Justin Masterson today. 7 innings, 3 hits, shutout baseball, walked 2, struck out 11. In his last 2 starts now, Masterson has struck out 20 and walked just 5.
Well, he was, great again.
Justin, you talk about swing and miss stuff. He had 16 swings and misses in the ballgame. In fact, of his 11 strikeouts, the first 9 were all swinging. Only the last 2 were called thirds. Knocked him down again. Saunders having to get out of the way. It's 2-0. Joe Smith now up in the Tribe bullpen. Joe hasn't pitched in a week.
I know it. Well, he was up, I think it was the first night.
There's a strike. It's 2-1.
He was up last night. He's been up in the bullpen, but he hasn't appeared in the game.
Now the 2-1. Oh, did he pull the string on that one? 73 miles an hour. 2-2 the count.
Yeah, it really takes something off of this curveball, and it has the lefty out front.
Another strikeout. That's a dozen for Tribe pitching on the day. One down here in the 8th. Golf pro Jimmy Hanlon takes you inside the Golf Zone tonight at 9 on Sports Time Ohio. Get golfing tips and learn the latest from the PGA Tour in the Golf Zone with Jimmy Hanlon tonight on Sports Time Ohio. Jimmy, he's back. He's back on track.
Well, I know it. He played in your tournament, didn't he?
That was his first round of the year.
He was telling me, you get raffle tickets and things like that. He was winning things that he didn't need to win.
That's the way it always works in life.
Here's a pro golfer that ends up winning a driver.
Yeah.
I don't think he needs one.
No, it probably has a closet full of them, you would think, right?
A couple of, pro shops full of them.
But you know, Jimmy isn't quite in mid golf season form because his attire. He was very conservatively dressed.
You can't come out all at once. You got to ease your way back. And he
red
did
pants,
that.
black shirt. He was going with the Steubenville Big Red look. But he just he's got to work his way back into it, though. You're right. Dustin Ackley taking a strike. He is 0 for 3 on the day. The harder they swing, the slower he throws it.
And, that's the effective pitch. Now Rich Hill has had a couple of balls hit out of the ballpark by left-handers when he's hung the breaking ball inside. But when you throw that pitch at that speed and that location away, left-handers can't hit it. And that's
almost
the one,
chased.
you see, it gives you a different arm angle. It's almost like he's throwing it from second base, where the second baseman's standing, not second base.
Ackley able to lay off again. Again, the 3-2 is outside, and Ackley still won't chase after it. So a walk. We'll bring up Kyle Seager. Stay tuned after the game for Indians Live. If you missed any of the action today, the highlights will be coming straight up. We'll have analysis and reaction from the Indians clubhouse as the Tribe tries to run their win streak to 4 in a row. The Indians looking for their 17th win in their last 21 games. Swung on and missed. It's the best 20-game mark in baseball, and for the Indians, it's their best since August of 2008. Best 20-game stretch. And if you remember, that was the year they started out so poorly, and they had to rally just to get back to the 500 mark at the end of the year. With Terry Francona, his players have bought in since day one. Seager pops it up. Right center field. Stubbs gives way to Michael Bourne. 2 down. And I think slowly but surely, people around Major League Baseball are starting to buy in. They're starting to take notice of what's going on here in Cleveland as Terry Francona will go back to his bullpen here. It looks like we'll see Joe Smith with 2 gone here in the 8th inning, and the Indians on top 6-0. Indians with a 6-0 lead, 2 down here in the 8th inning. And Joe Smith, who hasn't pitched since May the 12th. So after a week-long layoff, he's back in a ball game, facing Kendry Morales with 2 down and a runner at first base. The challenge for any manager when it comes to managing a bullpen is trying to keep everybody sharp without overusing them
or underusing them.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite a balancing act. Some guys are really good at it. Some guys historically are not. Michael Bourne comes in, makes the catch, and quickly Joe Smith retires the final hitter of the 8th inning. All tried today, 6-0. As we go now to the bottom of the 8th inning, and should the Indians hold on here today, it would give them another series win in their last 9. They have 6 wins. They have not lost a series. They have 3 splits. So this would send them to 7 wins in their last 10 series. When they win game 1, they've won 6 series. They haven't lost a series, and they've had 2 splits. Last year, the tricky game for the Indians, remember game 2 was a disaster?
Right.
They were 16-36 for the year in game 2 of the series last year. So far this year, 9-6.
Well, they've done a good job, and that's what you do. Your goal is to win every series, and they've been on a nice little roll.
Lucas Litke in relief of Charlie Furbush, who fired 2 perfect innings of relief for the Mariners. Santana bouncing ball to short. Brendan Ryan will throw him out 1 away. Here's the in-game box score brought to you by your Northern Ohio Hyundai dealers. Michael Brantley, a career equaling best 4 runs batted in, but his 3-run homer in the second really blew the doors off of this one today. But Michael Bourne and Jason Kipnis, they've been doing a great job getting it started for the Tribe at the top of that order. And can't say enough, too, about the hustle play by Mike Aviles to come around and score on a little squibber hit out in front of the plate by Drew Stubbs. He caught Jesus Montero, the catcher for the Mariners, off the home plate area. He was a good 10 feet away from the plate, and he didn't get back in time to cover. And Aviles came all the way around and scored from second base on that play.
Yeah, they did the Indians did the little things early in the game and correctly and they hustled their way into a couple of runs.
And speaking of hustling, our own Tom Boshenik has been hard at work today. He's hustled.
Yes, he has, as he always does.
And he's one of the best in the biz, folks. We love him. We say that tongue-in-cheek. Anyway, Justin Masterson, first Indians pitcher with 2 scoreless streaks of 19 innings or more in a single season since then Fausto Carmona back in 2007.
Okay.
We all know how that season played out for the Tribe. Hopefully this one is headed in that same direction. Reynolds
that's gonna
shoots
fall.
one to right field. Morse comes in. He's there to get it. 2 down. That will bring up Mike Aviles, who doubled and came around to score back in that 4th inning. Aviles takes a strike. No balls, 2 strikes, the count on Aviles. Litke fires, and a line drive smash by Aviles. His 2nd hit of the ball game, his 4th hit now in the series.
Yeah, put up a good at-bat. Mike Aviles now with 2. That's a good job, and they're 9 hits today, the Indians are. He loves the fastball. He got on it that time. So a 2-out base hit by Aviles will give Stubbs another chance.
Drew 0 for 3 today, 1 for 8 in the series.
Ouch.
He'll walk it off.
Well, he has that padding there on the front foot. He's going to make sure that's adjusted, tighten it up, and let's go.
Taking, it's a strike call. No balls, 2 strikes, 2 down here in the bottom of the 8th inning. Litke fires. The 0-2 offering is swung on and missed. The ball gets away. Montero has it, and the inning is over. 8 in the books. Tribe 6. Mariners nothing. Nothing as we go now to the 9th inning. Joe Smith got the final out of the 8th. He'll stay on to pitch the 9th. A reminder, tomorrow the Indians and Mariners wrap up this 4-game series with a 12 o'clock game. It'll be Scott Kazmir against Iwakuma of Seattle, who is 5-1 with a 184 ERA. So he's been dynamite too. But that's tomorrow at noon. We'll have it for you right here on Sports Time Ohio. There is Scott Kazmir. Continues to pitch well. 29-year-old will make his 6th start tomorrow. Fouled right back. 0-2 the count on Michael Morse.
Continuing to run it inside to Morse. The big guy stands off the plate. Strong hitter, just likes to extend the arm, so he's staying inside. Trying not to give him any breathing room right now.
Checked on a ball up high. Two and two the count as Moore steps back in. Smith fires. Foul back. Up high with it, full count. $19,744. The attendance here today on a gorgeous Sunday afternoon. And it's ball 4. Leadoff man aboard via the walk. Kevin Costner has seen enough. He feels like the Tribe's got this one in hand. A lot of well-wishers recognizing him. It's funny, well, Rick and I were watching early when he sat down. I don't think anybody sitting around him had any idea who he was.
He just wants to take in a game. He wants to be a fan. He wants to be normal. That's beautiful. But once you're seen, you're in trouble now. Look at everybody with their phones. Unbelievable.
Ibanez pops one up. Shallow left field. Michael Brantley is there. He makes the catch. One away. Indians Live coming up next. Al and Jason will have the highlights in the studio. Rick and I will have some thoughts on the game today. We'll break down some of what happened early in the ball game. And Katie, of course, will have interviews from the Indians' victorious clubhouse. It's all coming up next. Brought to you by Conrad's. 1 on, 1 out. Justin Smoke 1 for 3 on the day. Wow, that sent him scattering in the Mariners dugout. Joe Smith hasn't pitched in a week and looks like maybe he's trying to kick off some of the rust. 6 balls, 6 strikes. There's a high fly ball. Popped him up. Shallow center. Mike Aviles makes the catch, and there are 2 gone. Jesus Montero coming up now. He has struck out twice. He has also walked. This crowd of just under 20,000 up on their feet. Swing and a miss. Montero turned it loose but came up empty. Smith delivers. And there's a long fly ball, deep left field. Brantley going to play it off the wall, high off the wall, in fact. Montero headed for second. Now he'll put the brakes on and hold at first with a long 2-out single. Morse winds up at third. So Mariners at the corners with 2 down now for Brendan Ryan.
Well, there you go. That was one that had middle of the plate. Montero gets it. Brantley plays the wall very nicely. He can only get into second base. So, again, the Seattle down to their last out.
Brendan Ryan has struck out each of his last 2 times up. Smith delivers. Swing and a miss. Joe Smith fires. Pulled the string on him again. It's 0-2. The first place Cleveland Indians. Winners in 16 of their last 20 games. Trying to make it 3 straight over Seattle. It's outside. And a count 1-2. Terry Francona looking on as Joe Smith tries to end it now. The 1-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. He strikes about to end the ball game. The Indians continue their tear. They've won 17 of 21 and are now 25-17, and they will stay atop the American League Central Division standings as they blow out the Mariners 6-0 here today and a chance to sweep the 4-game series tomorrow.